topics, and you're here for a reason, because maybe you have been either gaining or losing the same 10 pounds or fill in the blank with the number of pounds over and over again. You find yourself in this cycle, in this struggle, where why can't you just bless and release that weight for it to never come back, throw it in a black hole, that sort of thing. And we're going to give you solutions so that it doesn't come back. And the reason why we can't speak to this is because it's happened to myself as well as to Andi. So Andi, I'm going to toss it to you and set us up with some reasons. Why does this happen?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like every woman 40 plus, well, actually maybe every woman, we've all gained that 5 pounds, lost that 10 pounds, maybe, 5, 10, 15. And it's unnecessary, but I feel like you kind of have to go through it to then know how to not do it, right?
Well,
and I have 5 reasons here of why this happens. There might be more reasons, but to me, these are my top 5 reasons. And I can honestly say the 2 of these things are my reasons that I have gained and lost my 5 to 10 pounds. But number 1, your why isn't strong enough. Okay. The reason that you want to lose the weight, get fit, get lean, it's just not strong enough there. And I feel like, people say, oh, I want to do it for a wedding. I want to do it for a high school reunion. I want to do it for a fitness show. And then when that event is over, you're like, done. Give me the pizza, give me the ice cream, whatever it is. And I think we need to set those short goals, but I also think we need to look at the big picture and be like, why are we doing this? Is it health reasons? I know for me, one of the biggest reasons I do it is for my health. I don't have the best family history. Mm-hmm. And my grandmother, who has passed, I could be her twin. We have the exact same physical body. And she had a lot of issues. She had diabetes. She had some heart problems. And I know if I don't live a healthy lifestyle, I'm going to follow right in her footsteps. Yeah. So that's a big why for me.
It's a huge incentive into
it really is
wise choices.
And a lot of people will say their why is that they physically want to look better. Mm-hmm. And some people will say, well, that's not good enough. Give me a better one. You know what? I'm fine with that because you get so many trickle down effects from looking good. So, maybe your blood pressure goes down, maybe your cholesterol goes down. You are just more functional. You're able to carry those heavy bags, stuff like that. So I'm actually okay when people say that they just want to look better as their why.
Yeah.
I like some other reasons too, but you really have to think about, why am I doing this? Why do I want to lose that 10 pounds? And if it's important enough, I want to live a long life to be able to play with grandchildren someday, then that's going to stick. So I think that's a good one. And I am definitely there for that. Another reason people, have this, I'm going to call it failure every once in a while, is they pick a program that is way too strict. And I know I've done that. I have gone hardcore, balls to the wall. Here we go. No carbs, no sugar, no whatever it is. And that lasts like 3 days. And I'm like, throw it in the towel. I'm done. Okay. A lot of people go in over their heads way too fast. And you're setting yourself up for failure there. Have you done that?
If I may interject, it's such a good point. And this is the way I think of it, is if the pendulum swings one way, it is going to swing so hard the other way. So it's almost like you reach that rock bottom and you want to go so extreme, and that's where you get back into that cycle.
For sure. And you and I have both seen this in the fitness world, the bodybuilding world. I mean, people will go hardcore for 12 weeks and then they have their show and you see them a month later and they don't even look like the same person.
No. And it's hard to witness too, because you really, you feel for that person. You're like, oh my gosh, that's a blow to the ego, their mental health, of course. And again, I agree with you. Sometimes it's like a rite of passage in our industry, or even just being female, like you got to gain the weight to realize you don't want that ever to come back.
Exactly. All right. My third reason people don't have success with their healthy lifestyle is they don't give it enough time. Okay. We all want the quick fix. We all want the immediate results right there in front of us, but we're used to that with technology. You push a button, here it is. You want to watch a movie, Netflix, like everything is immediate these days. healthy lifestyle, losing weight, making strength gains, all that stuff, it takes a lot of time.
Mhm.
And it takes a lot of consistency over a long period of time. So you and I do a lot of programs that are 6 weeks long, and we see people have amazing results in 6 weeks. But our goal is always that when they leave on the last day of that 6 weeks, that they continue this, because they're going to see even more progress down the road. We don't want them to just stop that day. So it takes a long time. It's not an overnight thing. It's not Amazon Prime, as Kim likes to say,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, you got to be in it for the long haul. It's not a start date and an end date. So it's that consistency over a long period of time.
Yeah.
Here's another one. And I actually just did a talk this morning to our online group about this. And it's one of my favorite things because I love food. But not building off-plan meals into your healthy lifestyle. I can't imagine living the rest of my life, my healthy lifestyle, and never having like pizza or a piece of cake, my two main favorite things. I wouldn't be able to do it. So every week I build in 1 or 2 meals that are completely off my healthy eating plan. I never go overboard. I don't want to be stuffed, but I have that meal. I enjoy every single bite of it. I don't feel guilty, and I just move on to my next meal. And I think if more people did stuff like that, and you don't have to have pizza. I'm not saying you have to be like me. Maybe, your off-plan thing is, I don't know. It's something.
Rice Krispie treats.
Rice Krispie treats. Who likes Rice Krispie treats? Aubrey does. But that could be your off-plan thing for the day. And it's satisfying. We know it's not necessarily great for our body, but for me, knowing I'm going to have an off-plan meal, I will stay on track the rest of the week because I have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And by planning those in, when things pop up that you don't know they're coming, you can slide into them and be like, oh yeah, you know what? I can have a piece of birthday cake at so-and-so's birthday party that I just got invited to today, and that's okay. So I think that building those off-plan meals in can help you sustain that healthy living for a long period of time.
I relate a lot to like not getting burnt out, because let's say it's like having a rest day. If you're religious with your workouts, build it in that rest day. So when you come back, you're excited to get back into your routine. Same thing.
For sure.
I'm excited to get back into my routine after I have pizza or ice cream.
And a lot of times when we do eat those foods, you don't feel awesome the next day.
Right.
So you are like, oh, I got to get right back on track. I'm going to feel much better. My last reason that I think that people fall off is going on vacations, events, going out to dinner, birthdays, whatever. You don't have a plan. You don't have a plan. So like we talk with our online clients about going on vacations. I tell people, have a treat each day, some little treat. When you get home from that vacation, then we're back on track. So maybe it's a meal, maybe it's going for ice cream with your family afterwards, but have some kind of plan for these events so that when the event is over, you're not just, okay, well, I ruined it on my vacation, I just give up. Always having a plan, I think, is just going to be so helpful, not just around those events, all the time, having a plan and not just winging it. I think that will help people to stay on track more.
Yeah. This is totally true and totally excellent. I think, what I really want to drive home the message and summary with what you just said is, hire somebody to help you stick to that.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of working with us online. And just like this, Andy and I have had business coaches. We've had coaches for different things in our lives. Why would you not have a fitness or nutrition coach if you were struggling, with your health habits, right? If you wanted to finally live in the body that you've been like seeking, or whatever that you desire. So why not hire someone to help you adhere to that? And we see that with a lot of our lifers, that they keep coming back for more because they know the accountability piece is crucial, as well as they like to be a part of a group, like-minded people. We are going to build each other up. So that's inevitable. So yeah, now I wanted to talk about kind of like the mental or psychological side that maybe this is a blind spot for some of you out there. And Andi knows this, and I have been probably on a year-long quest. I've been doing a lot of continuing education things as well as personal development. So I have to credit a lot of this to Tony Robbins, because I've been going through a lot of his programs. And he talks a lot about, the mindset of achieving your goals. And the biggest one that is most present with me that I want to share is identity. Okay. And this is a big term kicked around a lot these days. Who do you want to identify as? And what happens is, especially right now, I am coaching some bikini and figure competitors. And what I see with some of them is they're either on or they're off, right? They're flip the switch. I'm training for a show or I'm off. And perhaps for, folks listening, they're either getting ready to go to the beach, or it's the holidays and it's sweater weather, right? Or they're either on or they're off. And this is a very typical and common human behavior, but we can break that pattern quite easily. And this is how I broke mine. So about when I was probably struggling with my weight the most, I remember when my relationship with food was all sorts of messed up, without going into the whole backstory, when I had the most amount of weight on my body, and I had like binge eating disorder, right? If we want to put a label on it. I was so sick of identifying as a person with an eating disorder. I didn't want that anymore. So I stopped that story. And the only reason why I share that story is so that I can help other people with eating disorders. I forget about that version of Aubrey, because I don't tell that story to myself. So I don't think like, oh my gosh, as soon as I have peanut butter in the house, I'm going to eat the whole jar. That was a former version of me, but that's not me now. So real quick other example, I had a client today tell me she's training for the show, and she said, Aubrey, I should have known better. I had a bite of banana bread and I just know me. And instead of just having a bite, I ate the whole piece of banana bread, and I need to keep my carbs this sort of way. And I said, all right. So we know this always happens. You always tell me like, I'm all or nothing. I can't just have a bite. I have to eat the whole thing. And I told her, I said, now you've recognized your pattern. So step one is pattern recognition. Okay. She's recognized her pattern, and she's also told herself that she identifies as a person who can't handle an off-plan meal. Okay. So now you have to change the story, and you can do this today. If you're ready already, you can start to write out what is your new story. Now you have to tell yourself this every day. It's like someone who quits smoking, right? So let's say I was a smoker and I smoked 10 years ago, and then Andi offered me a cigarette today. I wouldn't be like, oh, well, is it a Marlboro or a Newport, right? I'd be like, I'm not a smoker. No, thank you. I don't identify as a smoker. So you have to identify as either that fit human being, right? And that's the biggest hang up. So when you get derailed, this is my second point I want to bring up, actually. A lot of people say, well, before the pandemic, I was so good. Or, oh, this all happened to me after a kid. Fill in the blank. We've all been there. So now you literally have to cut that off like a limb, right? Or just like cut it out of your vocab, and to say, you know what, when I get derailed, I know to call Andi. When I get derailed, I know to call Aubrey. When I get derailed, I call the people who are going to make sure that I get back on the wagon the very next day. So when I started to come out of my like eating disorder haze, I did a lot of self-help things. And whenever I start to feel myself slipping, okay, and I don't use that term to define myself like, oh my gosh, I feel my eating disorder coming back. It's a matter of like, I feel a shift. And I have an expert who she's like an energy worker, and she helps me like whatever type of things are going on. She kind of helps me release that. It's like a therapy session, right? So just like we need a mental health coach, I reach out to her. Literally it'll take a day. So don't let this derailment. 10 pounds, you can't gain 10 pounds in a day, right? And that's hard work, like real 10 pounds, right? It is hard to gain that 10 pounds in one day. So as soon as you feel yourself slipping, you better phone the friends, or you better check in, and don't hide. Okay. So that's going to start to now you're utilizing a new pattern. So it's number 2, pattern utilization. And then number 3 is pattern creation, is that you're creating this new behavior, this new pattern. And finally, you're writing new roles about yourself, which I love this one. So I told my client today who had the banana bread, I was like, now you write the new roles. That your new role is, when I have a bite of food, that I can, you know, embrace it. I smell it, I taste it. It's like this experience, right? Because we're talking about off-plan meals. We want the experience. That's why we're not like, you know what, that pizza really gives me really good vitamin D. No, that's not it. It's a matter of, I want the human experience of the food itself. So she might not be there yet. That food still might be like what I call the kryptonite food to her. So as soon as she takes that bite and now she's off and it's that spiral, right? She won't, because she's checking in, but I know that folks listening, you can relate to this. So, you know, what I really want to drive home the message is, how can you have a fun experience still whenever you're around certain kryptonite foods? And that's another new role that I had to write myself. This year we went to, or this past year, we went to Disney World, and you know, every vacation, you know, can bring upon some gluttonous moments. And I wrote some new roles for myself. And I asked myself, Aubrey, how can you live in this moment and still enjoy it without overindulging, without making it about the food, right? And instead I started making it about the fun. Some people do this naturally, but this was really real work for me. And I was so happy to go on this vacation. And when I came home, I didn't feel like I needed a detox. I didn't feel like I needed a vacation from my vacation, but I set my clear intention and wrote my new roles ahead of time. So that's—
So you had a plan.
And I had a plan. It's a plan. It really is. And, you know, it depends on if you think plans are exhausting, right? So we want to keep it simple. So you want to keep it simple. And that's why, you know, I think reaching out to professionals in the field, as well as signing up for things that you know that you are going to show up for. So that's my big one.
I love that. And I still can't believe you went to Disney and didn't indulge. Like that's hard to do. I was so amazed when you came back and you told us, you're like, I feel so good. I didn't lose ground. I mean,
it is so psychological. You know what I tell myself as a part of this new rewrite is, Aubrey, you've had wine before. It's not fallen off the face of the earth. You've had bread before. You've had cakes and cookies before. And I will have them again. And I can still have some, but at the time it was not, you know, advantageous for me to be indulgent. And that was my big takeaway. I was like, is this really what some of my friends say, is this really in my greatest and highest good? So I kind of asked myself this question, you know, and, you know, it's not that I don't partake in festive eating. I absolutely do. I am a foodie at heart. I find alcohol to be very fun. But I've also learned, again, that perfect balance, so we don't have the swinging pendulum knock us off our game.
right. And you know, it's funny, we always ask our clients to keep a food log and try and figure out how they feel after eating certain foods. And a lot of times this festive eating, we wake up the next day and we have like a stuffy nose, we're puffy, we can't bend our fingers, all that stuff. Well, if you keep notes on that, you're going to recognize those foods that do that to you. So it might make it a little bit easier when you are trying to refrain from the festive eating, to be like, oh, you know what? That food does not make me feel good tomorrow. I think I'm going to, for me, it's peanuts. It's the only nut really that does it, but peanuts themselves, I get so puffy. And so if I see like a dessert or it's in a food, I make sure to keep those out. But I mean, that's the stuff that we need to learn.
Peanut butter is the same thing, I assume.
Yeah. Every once in a while, I love those little peanut butter balls, but the next day I can feel it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You kind of almost have to just budget in the aftermath.
You do. Kind of like We've known that about alcohol for a long time.
Yeah. Well, and last but not least, you can't manage what you don't measure. So it's a matter of, having that self-awareness and to say, all right, if I'm not measuring these certain things or having this plan or, why did the 10 pounds creep up? Well, it's this is kind of a touchy subject too. I mean, when was the last time you weighed yourself? Or when your clothes start to fit, and sometimes we just get in fit tightly and we go into denial. So there has to be that amount of self-awareness to say, you know what, I have to have to come to Jesus with myself and step on the scale today, because now it's 5 pounds and I don't want it to get to 10. All right, that's where you phone the friend.
Yep. And the people who don't want that plan in place, they're the ones that, and I've been there, you have that out of control feeling that
Yeah.
like there's just no structure. And we need to bring structure back in our lives. And it doesn't have to, I don't want people to think that it has to be, weighing and measuring every single thing. And you can do that. And a lot of people do that with a food scale or measuring cups, whatever. But you can get to the point where it's not as rigid, and how much a cup of rice is, or half a cup of rice in your palm, or the size of a piece of meat.
Mhm.
It can become easy to do throughout your lifestyle, but you may have to go through that short time where you are a little rigid to figure all that out. But having that plan in place is so key.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Andi, for talking about this with me today. Really great. So gang, feel free to hit us up on any of the social media channels. Andi, let everybody know what your Instagram handle is.
It's Andi Best You Crew.
Best You Crew. And you guys can find me just at Aubrey Worek, Worek. And we look forward to hopefully having you join us next time, as well as signing up for a Strong Sexy You program in the near future. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.